Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have three beige mid-tower cases here on the bench, and all from the 90s to early 2000 range for these systems. These systems are part of that big e-waste haul right there that we got a few months ago now, and I'm really excited to dig into these systems specifically because again, just looking at these cases remind me of when I started getting into computers around the 486 to Pentium era and going from there. We have a couple great systems on the bench today. I'm really excited to show everyone what's in these, keeping in mind, not one of these have been tested. I have not turned them on. We're all going to do this together. We're going to find out if they work, if we can get them to post, and if we can get something going on them. So you know what? Lots of work to do as we always do on the channel. Let's get right to it. Welcome back, and really excited to have system number one on the bench. And if you know on the channel, we keep a tally of all the systems that we do, and we'll take a look at this system and see if we're able to get it going today. So system number one, I love the look of this actual case. It doesn't look to be in terrible shape. The actual front here, the bezel, outside of it missing, looks like a door of some sort or flapper here, but we'll get to that in a moment. But generally, I never saw these sort of cases when I was younger back in the day, and I tended to gravitate more towards the A-Open custom cases, as well as the InWin cases as well. Those are the type of brands I stayed to when I was making my custom PCs. Interested to hear what you built back in the day in terms of the cases and what brands you had. Leave a comment down below and let me know. So here we have an Asus 52 speed CD-ROM drive. I don't remember seeing any Asus drives in my time, so definitely cool to see that. We have a Sony branded drive here as well. It looks like a CDRW and a DVD multi-recorder drive. So definitely some, upgraded type drives that are in this older case. And we have what looks like to be a floppy drive. I'm not sure if that's populated or not, but we're going to find out. We have our power button here, our switch, which is also what I think looks like our power and LED for our hard drive. Not sure if they light up in behind, probably do. We have a reset button, some ventilation. We have powered by Asus, www.asus.com sticker here. We have two audio ports, so for headphones and for your microphone, two USB ports in the front. And again, as I mentioned, it looks like there should be a door here. And then we have an AMD Athlon processor, AMD XP. So interesting to see this so far as to what could be in this case. Not sure. All right, and the side panel looks to be pretty straightforward. There's no damage at all on the side here, which is nice. It's quite a deep case considering most of them kind of ended like around here in terms of size. But again, I guess it was the Wild West of computing as I continue to refer to it. And it seemed to have lots and lots of different designs at the time. You don't see it on the top of the case here just because of the angle of the camera, but it is quite dented in, like it's flattened, it's concave. So unfortunately, I don't know if that can be bent out or not, but hey, it's bent nonetheless. Okay, on the back of the system, we have some ports. So we have two PS2 ports here below the power supply. We have two USB, two COM ports, LPT or parallel port. We have two more USB ports. We have a total of 6 now. And we also have built-on Ethernet, 3 connection for additional audio. What looks like to be a dedicated graphics card here. So we have our DVI, VGA, and looks like S-Video out is here as well. We have Wi-Fi, I suppose, built on Wi-Fi, so something that's been added. We also have a different expansion here, and it says SDIF out, so we have our digital out or optical out audio, but I'm not sure what this one is here. Actually, it's in and out, so we have additional audio ports. Interesting to see what would be in this system. And I forgot to mention, it looks like an extra fan is populated in the expansion area here. And down below, we have a joystick port and 2 additional USB ports, so an additional expansion card here. I'm really excited to see what's inside the system, to be honest with you. So we just have a couple screws here we're going to remove on this side. Actually, that's the motherboard side, so I'll leave that in place. It must have been from working on all those BTX systems that I'm kind of backwards here. Okay, remove these 2 screws, and that should allow me access into the system. Let's flip it around here and find out what is inside this computer. That's one thing about these systems, it's always a mystery, and I love doing that. Well, here we are. We have quite a large motherboard, and there's a hard drive in here, which is awesome, so we'll be able to see if this gets fired up. Let's get this all flipped around so we have a much better view of the system. Okay, and here we are with a much better view, I hope, for everybody here. So we have our 2 optical drives that are connected up here, which looks to be IDE. Our floppy drive is in fact populated, which is awesome, as well as our IDE hard disk. Not exactly sure what that is just yet, but let's take a quick peek here and find out what we have for a hard disk. I love when they're in here. I know it contradicts what I say usually, which is get rid of your drives, destroy your drives before someone gets them. You know, don't go send them to recycler unless they've been looked after and destroyed. But in this case, I'm happy because we have the drive. So it's a Diamond Max Plus 9 by Maxter. It is an 80 gig ATA 133 hard disk. So, you know, it looks like it's been refurbished as well. It's a refurbished manufactured drive. And I haven't had any bad experiences with refurbished drives myself. They generally have pretty good controls to get them up and running there. Back up and running, back to factory standards. So I'm just going to throw that back in there. Now that we know what it is, I'm going to go ahead and screw that in. And like I said, you know, if you have a drive, destroy it. If it comes across my way, I do the same. Like I end up wiping the drives to make sure that they are safe and that your personal information is not on there anymore. Okay, so we have that all there. So let's look at the board itself as we continue to go here. Lots of good headers on the board here. We have lots of different expansion possibilities. This is a nice board. I'm just looking at it here, and lots of expansion possibility. So we have 3 banks of memory that are populated, and the only thing I don't like is that they're so tight to this video card here. I'm going to take the video card first, and it looks like there is power being run to the video card by a Molex connector. So we're interesting to see what video card this is that's in the computer. Let's take it out here. Pop your little guy out there. Awesome. And I did notice that the AGP slot was not connected there, so or the guard was off. So we have the BFG. It says there on the card. What card is this? It says here a BFG R76512GSOC card. So it says here 512 meg, 128 bit. And it's not giving me any other information outside of that. So I'll pop on the screen there during editing exactly what this card is. Probably is just that. But yeah, I mean, hey, I'll take any sort of cards like this, specifically AGP and any sort of expansion cards. And that's the nice thing when you get into these sort of systems is, these custom built systems, that when they come to e-waste and you get these, you start to find certain surprises. Let me know down in the comments if you think this is a good card or not, or if you have any experience with this card or you know what this card is. Happy to hear. So we're going to throw that back in there just for the sake of trying to get the post. Actually, before I do, just realized I want to check to see what we have for memory in here. Let's pop out one of the cards. Looks to be DDR memory. Yep, it is. So we have 1 gig PC 3200 memory. So I'm not sure if we have 3 gigs populated here or not, possibly 2, but nice to see fully populated RAM slots in the on the board. So I mean, already, we're lucking out. I mean, we have a full system here. We have 3 slots of memory that are already populated. We have our floppy, we have our hard disk, and we also have, as I mentioned, a dedicated graphics card. Even better when you're digging into this sort of thing. So let me just get this back in here. There we go. We have popped in there. I'm not going to take it out, but there's our Wi-Fi card. It just says Zenith there, so I'm not going to leave that. I'm not going to take that out right now. But it's interesting, this little Braco card here. I'm not sure what the system has in terms of, the board has, sorry, in terms of optical audio or digital audio, but we do have that little Braco card by Asus here, which gives us the two SPDIF ports in and out. So interesting to have that. And then here we have that expansion Braco card here with the game port that we have, which goes right to the motherboard itself, as well as the extra USB ports, two of them here. It gives you additional expansion. But yeah, so overall looking very good. And the board itself, model number is an Asus A7VBX. So if you're looking that up, it's an Asus A7VBX motherboard. And it is a big motherboard. It takes up the whole case. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the capacitors here just to see if there's anything obvious, if we're having any sort of issues. Always good to check. I'm going to plug that video card back in the Molex connector. Yeah, it looks good. We have our CPU here. We're going to check that out in a moment. We have our chipset. We have our AGP slot plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCI. The bottom PCI slot is blue in color versus the white other colors here. So I'm not sure what the blue signifies, but again, if you know in the comments, let me down below. Another source is the retroweb.com will probably have a schematic of this motherboard. But I mean, my goodness, it's definitely a full motherboard. Okay, and for the CPU, we're going to take a look at that when we see if the system posts, just because sometimes we take that off. I want to make sure that I don't have to reapply thermal grease, because we're going to end up cleaning all this up anyway. So yeah, all good. So the motherboard itself looks good. I'm not seeing any problems here. I'm actually not seeing anything that would give me a reason why this would not post, other than possibly the power supply. I should do a test on that power supply first before turning this on, because I have done that before where I've turned it on and unfortunately caused some problems. So let me get this plugged in there. There we are. And let me get a power cord and see if we can test the power supply. Okay, I have the computer all plugged in. We're going to hit the power button on the back. Everything is looking good on that so far. Yeah, the 5-volt rail, the 11 or 12-volt rail all looks good. Yeah, and 3.3, awesome. Okay, so we have a power supply that seems to be working okay. First glance, of course, and we will deal with what happens when it happens. Okay, let's get this all cleaned up, get it flipped back around, get the bench all set up, and do a test on our first system. Okay, and we're back, and we're all set up on the bench with our trusted Hewlett-Packard monitor, keyboard, and mouse. And I just like to use all these. And you saw in my last video the Hewlett-Packard Pavilion system that was quite exciting, that I found these parts at thrift stores, and then I was able to locate that system right there, and that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I like using these, and I love that system. And if you haven't seen that video, please check it out. It's pretty good. Okay, so here we have the system all set up. Let's hit the power button and see what happens. Again, haven't tested this yet. We're doing this together. Let's go. Nothing. Oh, we do have something. Okay, I hit pause there, see if it stops the system. No, it doesn't stop. But I came up with the GPU BIOS. Okay, hit tab to show a post screen. Okay, we have an Athlon XP 2000 plus CPU. Tested everything for us. And it says chip away a virus on guard. Our primary Maxter drive has been picked up. That's our 80 gig. We have our CD-ROM drive by Asus, and we also have our Sony DVD-RW. It's coming up and saying keyboard error or no keyboard present, but let me hit the button to allow us to see the screen. So I'm not sure what's going on there. And we are showing 1.5 gigs of RAM. Okay, let's hit F1 to continue, and it worked. So I don't know what's going on with the keyboard or what it's checking there, but it doesn't seem to be liking my PS2 keyboard too much. So it seems that we have Windows XP on this system. It could be that easy. System number one, it just posts. Again, I have no idea what's going to come up on the screen here, but I'm going to try to avoid any sort of personal information. But we'll go through the hardware here as well on the system. So coming up, a Windows XP splash screen. So it looks like there was nothing wrong with this system. It was just retired. It was, we're done with it. We're getting rid of it. Goes to e-waste as is. And just Bliss is always a beautiful, beautiful looking screen. So I was looking for the network controller. We're not going to install that right now, but I'd like to just take a look here to see what we have in the system. Okay, so Kara, thanks for your computer. It's awesome. So let's go to My Computer Properties, and we'll take a quick look here. Oh, it says Windows has finished installing drivers. So it wants me to restart. So I'm going to let it restart just to see what it did. I love it. The fact that system number 1 is already up and running. It floors me because, I mean, most of the systems that I get, as you know, on the channel, if you've seen, we've had some problems. Okay, here we go. It's a GeForce 7600 GS is the video card. So GeForce 7600 GS is what the BIOS came up as. So again, if you have any more experience with that card, let me know in the comments down below. Really excited to interact. And then also what I like to hear in the comments is if there's something specific that you like in this era of systems. So you have an Athlon XP 2000 plus CPU running Windows XP with 1.5 gigs of RAM in that GeForce card. Let me know what type of games you feel that this system could support utilizing that hardware. Okay, so we're booting back into the operating system here. Looking good so far. And it's quite snappy. The computer's working quite well. Let's go to properties, other than that network card, of course. Okay, so Kara again. So we have AMD Athlon XP 2000 Plus with 1.5 gigs of RAM, and the CPU is running at 1.25 gigahertz. So let's look at the device manager here and see what is installed. So our display adapters, there we go. There's our NVIDIA GeForce 7600 GS. So mystery solved. We have our video card, everybody. Really excited to have that in here. So again, let me know in the comments if it's a good card, bad card, what games, etc. So our DVD device drives are installed. Network adapters is our Asus Tech or Broadcom 440 10100 integrated controller. And this is the Wi-Fi controller, I believe, is what it's complaining about. Our processors is the AMD Athlon XP 2000 Plus, and then we have AC97 audio for our built-in audio. And, you know, like I said, you can do so much more with this in terms of audio. I mean, you have several PCI expansion bays here. There's nothing stopping us from adding a better sound card in this system for sure. But hey, at the end of the day, we have system number 1. We're far into this video already, and we had to do no troubleshooting. So system number 1 gets a thumbs up. Now let's go on to system number 2. Okay, and we're back with system number 2 on the bench, and this looks like to be an AT style case for sure. It has the big chonky sticky power button there. So it's pretty basic case design, but still good looking nonetheless. So it looks like we have a 12-speed CD-ROM drive here. This looks to be like an AOpen or Acer drive just by the look of the drive. We have 2 more expansion here for optical drives. We have a 3.5-inch floppy. We have some plastic popping out here. That's just a bay cover here. But again, we have another expansion for the floppy or 3.5-inch. We have an Intel Pentium inside, processor inside MMX. So giving us some sort of clue as to what's in this system. Then we have a couple more LEDs and a reset button. I just love the look of these older style systems. It brings back quite a bit of memories. So flipping around here, we have more goodies. So sure enough, AT, as I had mentioned, so we have our AT power supply here, our DIN 5 keyboard. So I'll have to get, well, it does have a PS2 card there, but it's probably a mouse breakout. So I'll get the old AT style keyboard out in a moment. And then we have floppy, listen to me, parallel and serial. It looks like it has Ethernet, which is awesome, I think, yep. And then we have our video card. So let's, as we do, get this swapped around on the bench to be able to get a better view as to what's inside this computer. Okay, here we are with system number 2 on the side on the bench. And yeah, it is your typical AT system. And I'm really excited to get into this. And I'm seeing right away that, I mean, we have some missing screws in the case so far. that I'm seeing, but that's totally fine. We'll figure this out as we go. So I am noticing that the hard disk has been removed from the system. I'm just removing the extra cables just so we can see what is going on inside of this. So this is running up to the optical drive, so we'll leave that there for now. But let's just look at the motherboard in general as we go through here. So we have our 72-pin SIM memory modules here. We have 4 banks here, but we also have, this motherboard also has the ability to utilize the SD RAM here as well, which I really always loved that design. It actually looks like the memory was half in and half out here, so I don't know if this system was in the process of being trashed or not, but it's showing 128 megs of RAM in this slot, and no doubt the same in that slot as well. Interesting for sure. One thing I also like about this board, and this is the first of its in my collection, is the power. So if you notice that this is the AT power here, the AT style power running to the power supply, but we also have an ATX power supply connector on the motherboard here as well. So that gives us a lot of different options in terms of power supply if needed. So I think that's pretty darn cool. Okay, let's keep on going here. So I'm just leaving those cables connected for now. Let's move them out of the way. We have some additional expansion, power for the Molex going to the CPU there. Interesting to see what that CPU is. Let's move the power out of the way. One thing about the AT power supplies, that big wire running right to the front switch because it runs on mains power right to the switch. Okay, so we have lots of expansion possibilities on the motherboard. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then we have a video card here. Let's find out what that video card is. We'll take that out right away just to see. Nice and slowly there. And there we are. So we have an S3 Virge DX on board. And looks like we have additional VRAM expansion possibilities there. And I think I have some of these chips because I've had some of these boards go bad on me and I kept the chips, the memory chips. So, I mean, overall, it looks to be in really good shape. It's a PCI card. A little dirty, a little dusty, but that's to be expected. But overall, I will be honest that the system itself seems to be pretty darn clean. So I'll pop that back in there just to make sure we don't forget to put it back in. And in addition to that one PCI slot that's occupied with the S3 card, we also have 2 additional PCI here and 3 ISA slots for additional expansion. And it does look like at one point they would have been added to because we do have different types of slot covers there that are already covering up the system there. So it's good. Okay, let's pull the CPU out here for a second and just see what we have. I really love these types of interface here. So it is socket 7. So it says Intel Pentium with MMX, and I'm not exactly sure of the processor speed itself. It's a BP80503233. It says 2.8 volt. Well, that's the MMX, so we do have the dual voltage CPU, I believe. We're going to find that out in a minute. But the dirt around the CPU is all kind of feathered around the CPU area. So I find that a little interesting, to be honest, just because of the way it is. So I want to make sure that there's nothing damaged there. But we do have that kind of, looks like the fan itself is just thrown on the processor there. So it'll be interesting to see if is all as well. So then over here we have our coin cell, which no doubt is dead. But I'm very happy to see that the coin cell is not a barrel battery because, the Varta batteries, which are generally up in the keyboard area, tend to leak everywhere, and it just does extreme damage to the traces on the motherboard. So we don't want that happening. And of course, we have a whole bunch of different indicator LEDs plugged into the front of the case, as well as the reset button. So yeah, I think we're in good shape. I mean, there's no hard disk, but we can certainly power on the system and see if we can get post. So let's get everything kind of reconfigured here on the bench and get right to it. Okay, and here we are. We have our AT keyboard plugged in, our Fujitsu keyboard. We got in one of the Thrift Find videos, so we have that all plugged in. We have our system and we have our monitor. I didn't plug in the mouse just because it doesn't have a hard drive. So we'll see where we end up there. And then the CD-ROM drive is actually an A-Open 12-speed CD-ROM drive. So it was what I thought. I just read the top of it here with the tower case off. Okay, I think we're good. So let's power up the button or system. Press the button, power up the system. And I did plug in the power already. I didn't hear any pops or anything. So hopefully we are good to go. Let's see what happens. We are getting some unhappy noises. And my feeling would be related to memory. So let me see what I can do to get those RAM sticks with some contact cleaner. And generally that will fix the problem. So let me try that now. Okay, and we're back. And after using some contact cleaner, I think we are good to go in hopes, crossing fingers. Let's press the power button and see what happens. Do a post. It is not liking whatever I did. I don't have any beeps. Turn it off, and oh, that power button's pretty sticky. Let's, oh, yeah, there's definitely a problem with the power button. That might have been causing some problems here. Oh, we have the post beep. We have post. This is absolutely amazing. Okay, so I hit pause there just for a moment so we can see the screen. So we have a Ward BIOS with Speed Easy setup. I believe that's the, if my memory serves me right, that it automatically detects the voltages in the CPU. But I could be wrong, but I think that's what that is. So we have a P5 i430TX/T1B plus BIOS. So this is our Pentium MMX running 233 megahertz, and I'll hit enter on the memory test, and we'll see what comes up here. And it shows 128 megabytes of memory. Let's hit Del to go into setup. All right, what do we have here? So a beautiful Ward BIOS, so many memories on this system. So let's click on standard, and to my surprise, it's keeping the date and time correct. That coin cell is working just fine. I thought it'd be dead. And then it shows a user entered hard disk here of 4.3 gig, or would be, 4 gig drive. So it must have, again, been removed from the system, but it looks like that's what was in the computer. So then our, drive A, pretty straightforward, and it shows our extended memory here. So under there it is. There's the Speed Easy CPU setup. So speed mode, Speed Easy, or jumper emulation. So you can go in here and configure the jumpers and the multiplier and everything in the BIOS for the CPU itself. So you'd be able to either change CPUs out or potentially change the speed of the CPU. And then Speed Easy, of course, is go in and change the CPU's speed of the chip that you have in there, and it automatically converts and changes the voltages in behind the scenes. I just think that's a pretty awesome setup. And again, it could be dangerous, so be careful, covering their butts there, so all good. And the chipset features, again, the memory that we have in there, and you can go in and change a whole bunch of different things. So, based on, performance metrics and testing, you can go through all of this and do different changes to try to tweak your system just to make it a little bit faster or slower for DOS gaming and things like that. So really neat to see. Power management, I always skip that. Not really into doing anything with that. And we have all our resources, and then loading up our setup defaults. Let's click on the integrated peripherals for a moment here. So in here, you're able to go on and change, different settings you want to turn on and off certain things. So definitely nice to have in the BIOS or password. IDE HDD auto detection, which is cool. Not all BIOSes came with this, so you did have to go in and manually enter the heads, the cylinders, the sectors, and all that to get the hard drive set up in the system. But of course, the system is already set up to be a user type, but unfortunately, it is not in this system. But yeah, we have a fully working posting system. That's 2 for 2 right now. This system, I think, would be definitely worth getting restored. There's so much opportunity, I think, and potential with this computer. Fix the button, retrobrite the case. Everything looks to be really decent shape inside, and we have a Pentium 233 with 128 megs of RAM. We can definitely do something with this, turn into a DOS gaming system for sure. I get a lot of comments down below about, what are you doing with that? Waste of time, focus on different systems. But, this is what got us where we are today, right? These systems did, and there's still a lot of great software older software, DOS gaming software available for these systems. I mean, arguably you can put on different versions of Windows here. 98 Millennium would even run on this, I believe. So again, you have the ability to do that. This is definitely worth saving. I do think it is, and I think it's worth turning into some sort of DOS gaming rig. You let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see on this particular system. So that said, let's move on to system number 3. Okay, and we have system number 3 on the bench, and another great looking tower here. And this one's slightly taller than the other two for sure, and just a good looking PC. I liked all the different PCs of this era. Okay, at the top we have a 36 speed max drive, optical drive, with 2 additional expansion possibilities here. This system also has the 3.5-inch floppy, but 2 additional expansions here as well. So you have 3 and 3, so slightly taller case, as I had mentioned. Our power and our reset buttons, along with LED, as for our power and our hard drive. We have a Pine PC kind of badging on here. I don't know if that's Pine PC case or Pine PC was actually a company, I'm not sure. And then down below we have the Intel Celeron processor inside. So that's really cool. So we'll see what is in the system when we get a chance. I'm going to swing around the back here and find out what we have. So one thing I want to mention here is that there's a lot of rust on this system. So we have quite a bit of rust. This plate here is just solid rust. And there's some rust creeping onto the connectors here on the back, specifically the video card as well. So that's going to be mindful of whether or not we get the system going or not today. But here we have our power supply, our 2 PS2, 2 USB by the looks of things. And I'm not sure if there's damage to the USB or not. It looks a little bent, but we'll have to look at that. We have 2 of our serial and our parallel. We have our video card. It looks like the modem. It looks like a network card here, networking by StarTech.com. So it looks like a later card that was put in here. And then we have a sound card that is here as well. So we have our gain port and our 3 ports for our sound. Now let's take the side off here, and it's quite a large panel. Even the screws are quite rusted here. So you can see, I'll show you here in a second, you can see the screw is quite rusted there. And that gives me a little bit of pause as to where this computer was stored. Sometimes you see these systems with rust on them and they were immersed in water as well. And hopefully that's not the case for this system. We're going to find out in a moment. And on the very top of the tower as well, you can't see because of the camera angle, but on the top, there's absolutely like a whole bunch of different rust. I'm going to call them divots that are in the top there. So definitely a sign of the potential environment that it was in. Okay, opening it up and see what is inside. Wow. Okay, I'm going to flip this system around so we can have a much better view from the bird's eye view. So here we go. Okay, and here we are with system number 3, and another great looking system. And for the amount of rust that's on the outside of the computer, there's none inside. And that's exciting for me because we have a really cool custom build here again, and opens up the potential here. So we're going to go through this here now. So up here we have our power supply, and then we have our optical drive along with a floppy drive, but we also have the hard disk still installed in the system. That makes all the difference for me for testing and seeing what was in this system. I'm not going to take it out right now because there are 4 screws in this. It's going to take a bunch of work to take it out just to look at it. I think we can do that when we do a full restoration on this system, but I think what we need to do is turn it on to see if it posts, to see what the next steps are. And we have some memory slots here. Looks like SD memory. I don't know exactly what's in there for now for memory. Looks like 128 megabytes of RAM, but we'll have to do a check on that. And then we have a slot 1 Celeron. Not too often do I see the slot 1 form factors anymore. I have 1 or 2 boards that do have that interface, but it's always nice to see, especially for an E-Way system, as intact as this is so far. Great to have that. So really curious to see what speed that is. I was kind of hoping that's what I was going to see based on the older case badge design that I saw there, and that from that era, generally you had the Celeron socket ones there. So definitely interesting to have that. Okay, and for our next card, we have the video card. So I'm going to take that out just to see what we have for a video card. I mean, that's relatively straightforward to take out, so I'm not too worried about it. And it is utilizing a PCI slot, but even though this motherboard does have, it looks like, a AGP slot. So this is definitely something we could take advantage of in terms of expansion, is using the AGP slot that's on the board. So we have an SIS 6215 chipset. So we have a PT5906 is the other indicator here. And you can tell quite a bit of oxidation on the teeth of that interface card. You can see that there. It's just quite. So I'm going to throw some deoxit in there just because I think it's important to do that. And, you know, it's unfortunate that that's wearing down as it is. But I'm not exactly sure what this video card is. You can see the rust there as well. But it just has the SIS chipset, the 6215 97 is the year on this. But sorry, that's the chipset model here. I'm just looking at the code here, 98 possibly. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the different date codes on here. It's 1998. But yeah, okay. Well, we have that. Let's pop this back in there and see what we have. All right. Oh, I just finished saying I was going to put some deoxin in there, and I didn't do it. So let's get some of that on the card itself, just to give it a little chance of survival. Remove any of that oxidation off of the. You know, when we do a restoration on this, we're going to do a proper cleanup. This is just because I feel bad for that card. Plus, when you go to put it back into the PCI slot, it makes quite a bit of difference for moving it back in. It just makes it easier. Okay, so it looks like we have a modem here as well. Nothing too fancy there. And then we have our networking card with the Realtek chipset, by the looks of things, from StarTech. Now, for a sound card, let's pull that out real quick just to see what we have in this system here. There we are, pretty straightforward. And we have a Creative Labs sound card. We have the Vibra 16 model CT4180 by Creative. Copyright Creative Labs Technology, 1997. Always awesome to see these cards out there. I'm always excited. I love, I can't stress enough, Creative Labs stuff. And having that in the ISA form factor, always great to have. Especially when all of this was thrown in the garbage pile and was going to go to recycling, and we now have it on the bench. Okay, so as you can see, it looks to be fully intact, this system. I mean, we have the processor, we have a full array of cards here for expansion, we have the hard drive and everything else, and everything looks to be connected to the board, as well as to for the memory as well. I'm not seeing any sort of indications on the silk screen as to what make and model this motherboard is. So I was looking a little bit here before I turned the camera on to start rolling here, and I don't see anything written on the board that I can easily see here. So I'm definitely going to be interested. I'm with you on the journey here. So we're going to flip this computer around, get it on the bench, get it all sorted out with the keyboard, monitor, and mouse, and we'll be able to see what we can do to get the system posting. So let's go. Okay, and we're back with system number 3, and I'm excited. Do we have 343 in today's video on the bench? 3 UA systems. Can we get number 3 going here? Let's see. Nothing. Uh-oh. Okay, let me just see. Oh, I don't think I had the power connected or turned on. Let's try it again. I hear the hard drive. Oh, my goodness. We have post. 343 systems posting. I don't have anything on the screen. Let me just check the video connection here. Okay, we're back, and there's been some changes. So there's always, I try to get away with 3 without having to do any intervention. And unfortunately, I was not able to. So this computer was giving me just blank. It was on, it would do the post beep, but nothing came up. So I took out the video card, reseated the video card, added some contact cleaner, even use the isopropyl alcohol to do a better job of cleaning the teeth, and they're pretty oxidized here. You know, you can see, I don't know if the camera picks up on it, but it is quite looks like there's some damage there. So I think I'd have to do definite cleanup there. There's a little mark there as well. I'm not sure what's going on there. But again, there's just a bunch of work. I think I have to polish these teeth on the interface, but again, couldn't get it going. So I swapped it out with a Rage 128 AGP card, and here we go. And nothing. Let me turn on the power. There we go. And we have post. And I'm not as super excited because I did post it a moment ago to make sure it would work with this video card. So this was the culprit in this system. It was causing a lot of unreliability. So let's pause this for a second to really just take a look here. And the keyboard's not working. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to get that going. But you see that we have Intel Celeron MMX running at 266 megahertz. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that in a moment. And then we have our memory, which is counting up to 128 megs of RAM. Now I just made mention that I'm not getting anything from the keyboard, so there's probably an issue with the PS2 port. And it should give me an error saying keyboard here in a moment. So it's giving me the checksum error. Of course, CPU has been changed. I don't know what's been changed with the CPU, but please re-enter CPU settings in the CMOS setup and remember to save before quit. Well, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to see if I can get this keyboard working next. Keep going here. One moment. Okay, system number 3, we're still working on here, and again, to the rescue. Contact cleaner. I'm telling you, without that, this system must be really oxidized. It must have been out in some sort of very wet environment, because with all the rust that's evident in the back and the sort of oxidation going on the other components, as well as with the PS2 port, it was very difficult to go in and out of the PS2 port. And when I used the contact cleaner, it made a world of difference. And of course, my keyboard's working again. So that's good. Let's go into setup for a moment just to see what's going on in here. Okay, yeah, monitor, do your thing. Okay, standard CMOS setup, so everything's set to auto. Clock's obviously reset to 98, and it's been up and running for 3 minutes. Just evident that the coin cell battery that's on the board is not functioning. And then we have all our standard stuff there. Chipset features, that's our RAM and all of our different memory settings that we can change, and all of our resources for PNP, so plug and play and PCI configuration. We don't want to set up any BIOS defaults. CPU speed setting. All right, so it's set to 233 and it's lost the settings. So I don't know what this is for a processor, to be honest with you. I should look that up because it's asking me to change it because it's set a default. It has preset settings for 366 up to, and then of course you can go from here and then change the multiplier and the frequency. So I'm going to go and just take a look real quickly to see what that CPU is before I make that change. Okay, so I did take out the CPU itself, and it is a Celeron 266. I don't like going in and changing the CPU setting to whatever and just tweaking it because you don't know if you're running it properly or not. Integrated peripherals, pretty straightforward. We can go in and change and turn off different things. And yeah, so we're just going to click on Save and Exit Setup. Yes, and hopefully it makes the changes and see if we have any sort of operating system on the hard drive that's within the system. Let's see what happens. It's now posting reliably. That's good. So far, so good. Keyboard's working now, so we got that sorted out. I hear clicks. It's booting into something. Windows 98. Oh, awesome. Oh, the hard drive sounds pretty unhappy. I mean, it's working. Yeah, I mean, it's working, but it's definitely, you can hear that it's clicking quite loudly. So I imagine some oxidation or some moisture or whatever may have affected that. I know they're sealed units, but if it hasn't been turned on in a long time, it's definitely potential to cause problems. So remember that we installed the Rage 128 card in here. Stephanie apparently is the user. So hi, Stephanie. So it's going to try to detect that. We're not going to try and install that today because we just put it in the system just to see if we can get it to post. Let's see what else is on the computer here. Hit cancel. And we've adjusted your clock. It's December of 1997. Wow. Talk about being a blast in the past. Hit cancel for now. That's fine. It is not 11 o'clock at night either. Or is it? Nope. Oh. I think that hard drive is dying. That doesn't sound healthy at all. Yeah, that we're not getting very far on this system. I am actually shocked it even booted to this stage before it started making those bad noises. Yeah, I mean, you're witnessing a hard drive spinning rust die on the Retro Recall. I would imagine you encountered an error accessing the system registry. Oh, I think you're going to have a lot more errors before we're done. Hey, we've run out of space on drive C, probably because it can't write to half of it. Programs aren't responding. Everything's blowing up on the screen. It's like one of those episodes you watch of a car. Someone holds down the gas pedal and watches the engine slowly blow up until it just revs it past the red line. I almost feel like that's what I'm doing here. I'm letting it die in front of me, but it's still loading stuff. I can't believe it. It loaded WinZip. What else did it load? Norton Antivirus, Task Scheduler. Normally, I wouldn't include this footage in the final, but I'll tell you, this is. I've never witnessed a hard drive literally die in front of me, so this is quite an experience. Okay, so the system is now loaded. Don't know what's on this computer. I'm clicking and it seems to be working, but not. Can I play games? Do we have games? There's no games. No. We have Lotus. Oh my goodness. All right. You know what? I'm done playing. We have a computer that's its hard drive is literally on the way out. There's no hope for this guy here. And I'm not worried about taking an image of this. This is fairly straightforward drivers that are required for this system to do a full restoration. Take note, 3 for 3 all have posted, 2 with hard drives have booted. I still think this is successful, and my goodness, it's been fun, especially at the end here. Okay, let's get the bench all cleaned up and do our outro. Okay, and we're back, and yeah, another great looking site on the bench, and what a fun experience this was. We really lucked out, I think, having 3 systems all post. Yes, we had a little bit of challenges with this guy. Let's go over them. So we have our Athlon 2000 Plus system here that booted right into Windows XP. Even has the GeForce video card in there, that dedicated graphics card, and I'm very excited to have it. I think it was the 7200 GS that we had in there. dedicated. So really cool. Really hope to hear down in the comments about that system and exactly what maybe we should be installing in it. But I think that, definitely awesome to have in the collection, and it all just worked and it's in excellent shape. Then we have a beautiful AT system right in front of us, a Pentium 233 with 128 megabytes of RAM that doesn't do anything because it didn't have a hard disk, but a lot of potential with this system as well. Maybe we could, load a hard disk in here, an operating system of some sort, some DOS games on there. I know that that'd be really cool. And that, I believe it's a S3 Virge card that we have in there. Maybe pop in some more VRAM. I think that would be really cool to keep this as original as possible. Do some additional testing, maybe the CD-ROM drive, etc. But yeah, definitely a candidate for a good cleanup. And then we have system number 3, which gave us the most challenges and the most fun. We have a beautiful looking tower here running an Intel Celeron slot 1 266 CPU with, I believe it had the 128 megs of RAM or 256, I forget which. I think it's 128. And it had that dedicated video card here as well. But unfortunately, that video card is not functioning. So I threw the ATI Rage Pro in there for now, 128 Pro, and it seems to be working just fine. So we fiddled with the RAM, we got the video card going, all that was resolved behind us, but then only to get into a keyboard problem, which we were able to resolve as well with some contact cleaner. Fast forward, getting into the operating system, getting the system to boot, and hearing the hard drive die right in front of us. Oh, I'm glad I got that on audio. I'm glad everyone was able to hear that. And, it was just funny to watch. I just watch it slowly die. So, I mean, this system requires a little bit more cleanup because of the oxidation and the rust on this system. But I think all 3 systems are worth saving and getting them back up to their former glory. If you think so, please let me know down in the comments. That said, if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It makes a world of difference for the channel, helps the channel grow with the YouTube algorithm and all those good things. Hit the notification button, change it to all. You'll be notified of new content such as this. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you owned one of these systems. Did you have these cases? What configurations did you have? I love all the comments down below. I respond to every one of them. I love the interaction. Always making new content. Thank you to absolutely every one of the supporters of the Retro Recall. Couldn't be here without you. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.